What's up, everybody? Nate here. So millennials so far in their lives have not had the easiest financial time, and trust me, that's coming from a millennial. Two crazy recessions, market crashes, inflation, and now interest rates. Millennials have had a tough mountain to climb. But in 2022, it looks like things are getting a whole lot worse for millennials. New debt and an ever-changing economy means that millennials have to change too, but the problem is a lot of them are learning and adjusting their finances based on our old economy, and those strategies just don't work anymore. This is leading to the vast majority of millennials being financially screwed in 2022 and beyond. However, it does not have to be that way. Today we're going to talk about why millennials are financially screwed and some things that just about every one of us can do in order to unscrew ourselves in 2022. But before I get into all of that, do me a quick favor and hit smash or destroy that thumbs up button below and ring that notification bell too. Both of those two things are completely free and they help to show me that you like this video and that you want to see even more just like it. Thank you so much for doing that, and now I want to talk about the first reason why millennials are financially screwed in 2022, and that is debt. But this is new debt. Debt that many millennials have never experienced in their lifetime. Over the last 2 years or so, many millennials finally got the opportunity to become homeowners. Owning a home, though, comes with a big monthly payment and a lot of debt. In fact, roughly 30 to 50% of millennials bought a home sometime between 2020 and 2022. But buying a home is not cheap, and many millennials are finding that out the hard way. The big difference between owning a home and renting a home is all of the maintenance and taxes that you pay on that home. Obviously, when you rent a home, there is a certain amount of maintenance that you're required to do, but the big maintenance is all done by a landlord. So things like replacing appliances or fixing the roof or major landscaping jobs, well, those are all going to be done by your landlord, which means they pay for it, and more importantly, it does not come out of your pocket. However, when you own a home, that is now all your responsibility. There are a lot of costs associated with owning a home, and one of the biggest costs for many millennials is going to be taxes. Many millennials got in during the last 2 years, which was a great time to do so. If you bought a home over the last 2 years, you may have overpaid in the listing price, but you saved a lot of money with your low interest rate. Interest rates over the last 2 years were around 2 to maybe 4% on average, so many millennials were saving hundreds of dollars every single month on their monthly mortgage payments. Millennials love to save money. It's what we were taught from the very beginning, so when we hear savings, we kind of go nuts. But now in 2022, interest rates are starting to go up again, and housing prices are also tipping the scales, so millennials really aren't saving much money on a house right now. But just because millennials saved money back then does not mean that they're going to continue to save money in the future. A lot of millennials wanted to buy a house because they felt like if they didn't get one right now, then they were never going to be able to afford one in the future. This is because housing prices are going up so crazy, and so are interest rates. And when they're historically low like that, you can save a lot of money. However, now property values continue to rise, which means property taxes are also going up. Now, don't get me wrong, most millennials and most Americans, for that fact, that bought a house over the last 2 years can technically afford this home. However, for the most part, many millennials push their budgets all the way to the max. So while they could afford the home on signing, eventually living in your home is gonna get a little more expensive. With these crazy home values right now, the amount that you're gonna pay on taxes could increase by around $1 to $3 and even $400 every single month. That's just a year-over-year change. That's all going to depend on what neighborhood you bought a house in. But chances are, no matter where you live, it's going way up, so you have to pay a lot more right now. This means that your budget for investing or saving or just for the things that you want is getting eaten into simply because you bought a home years ago. This is why it's very much important to make sure that you have solid goals and a plan in place for when you buy a home. We can pretty much assume that for the most part, property taxes are going to go up in the United States, so you're going to have to pay more every single month. But you need to plan for this, and you need to talk to your mortgage company and a financial professional to prepare yourself in order to make these additional costs. So for the most part, if you have a fixed interest rate mortgage, then your payment is not going to change every single month. However, as property taxes go up, you will ultimately need to pay more for your house. Might not have to pay for it all at once, but by the end of the summer or the end of the winter, you're going to have to fork over a ton more in property taxes. And this is something that many millennials avoid avoided before because the housing market was already pretty crazy and outpacing incomes. I mean, simply put, many millennials before 2020 didn't have the means in order to buy a house. Interest rates were pretty high and inventory was really low, so for the most part, if you didn't have the money, then you weren't going to get a house. However, with the stimulus of 2020 and interest rates going down, this meant that so many more millennials could now get a home. But it also means that they are now in huge debt. Many of them are pushing that debt to the limit. The other big thing hanging over millennials right now is student loan debt. Around 14.8 million millennials in the United States have some amount of student loans. That's debt that really doesn't go away unless you pay it off or you're in one of the professions where the United States government will pay it off for you. This is something that many millennials haven't had to worry about for a long time. Student loan payments have been effectively paused since March of 2020, so for the past 2 years, millennials haven't had to pay a cent on their student loans, and those student loans are not accruing any interest on them. So they're basically just sitting there waiting for you to come back. Now, the big issue that I think is coming for millennials in 2022 and beyond is when those student loan payments start to come back up. Many millennials have gotten new jobs or have just gotten used to not paying them, so when they finally start resuming in 2022 and beyond, millennials are going to be unprepared. I have student loans myself, so I totally understand how it is. I've been paying them little by little every single month despite the pause on student loans. However, my student loan payments are $200 to $300. And I don't even have that much debt. I'm trying to pay them off as fast as possible. That's why the payments are so high. However, some millennials have way more student loan debt, which could be double what I'm paying. In a nutshell, that means these millennials are now using that extra $200, $300, $400, and $500 a month to do whatever they want with, whether it's investing, whether it's saving, or just buying things that they want. It's going to be a problem though when millions of millennials can no longer afford to pay back their student loans because of the lifestyle that they've chosen to live in 2020, 2021, and 2022. It's no secret that Americans like to live a lavish lifestyle, and many millennials decided to buy homes and buy a car in 2020 and in 2021. Not only that, but credit card debt is also starting to go up. So millennials now have to pay a lot more for everything. They didn't have to pay their student loans right now, but eventually those are going to return. And don't rely on Uncle Sam or President Joe Biden to pay them off for you. I mean, that might happen, but it might not. So you have to prepare yourself in case that doesn't work. Now, if you're in the situation where you haven't made any student loan payments over the past 2 years, well, don't worry, you're not in trouble just yet. But my recommendation for you is to start getting used to putting that much money aside so when you do have to start paying them again, it doesn't catch you off balance. Of course, if your income's changed or your housing has changed, try to find a new repayment plan or even refinance before rates get too crazy in the United States. This way, you might have to pay your student loans a lot longer, but you will have a lower monthly payment, which might help you in the short term, and eventually, you might be able to start doubling up on your payments in order to get them done faster. By the way, you can do the exact same thing with your mortgage. Of course, this all entails that you have enough money in order to do so. So look into your options and definitely try to figure out what payment method is right for you. But avoiding them and not paying them is going to do a whole lot worse for your financial future. So you definitely want to look into your options now. Number 2 on why millennials are financially screwed in 2022 and beyond all comes from investing. Many millennials have started to invest over the last few years, and they're starting to compete a lot more with the generations above them in terms of how much they're putting away for their retirement. The problem is many millennials might be investing the wrong way. Now, to be clear, I would never tell you exactly how to invest your money. Your situation is going to be a lot different than mine, so invest in a way that makes the most sense for you and meets all of your goals. However, what I've started to see over the last few years is millennials putting more money into savings and 401ks. 2020 and 2021 was a crazy time, and what many millennials found out was they needed an emergency savings account in order to protect themselves. Many of my friends and millennials in general lost their jobs in 2020. They had to scramble to find cash. Now, of course, Uncle Sam ended up giving us stimulus payments, which did help a little bit. But now, a lot of my millennial friends are starting to pour money into their savings accounts. This is good in the short term. A short-term savings fund is really important to protect yourself and to buy the things that you want. This way, if you want to go out and buy something, you don't have to put it on credit and get more debt. That's only going to weigh you down in the future. And of course, you want to protect yourself for today. You don't want to have money sitting in an investment account that you pull out every time you need something. So saving is important, but many of my friends and millennials are putting way too much into savings, and that money is getting eaten away every single day by inflation. Inflation in March of 2022 was 8.5%. That means if something costs $1 today, a year from now, it'll cost around $1.08 or 9 cents. That is an over 40-year high, meaning every single year, the money that you have in your bank account is also losing 8% of its value or more. So you have to invest your money if you want to use your money in the future effectively. Now, I've started to see many millennials invest their money through 401k plans, and that is a great way to start. If your company or employer offers a 401k plan that matches your contributions, then you should definitely be taking advantage of it. That is free money that if you're not using, you're basically just leaving that money on the table. But don't get too crazy here. 401k plans were not meant to be your sole retirement plan. This is because by the time you retire, those contributions that you made were all pre-taxed. So you can put more in right now, but eventually you're gonna pull that money out and it's all going to be taxed. We don't know which direction the United States tax code is going in the future, but I can tell you it's probably gonna go up. So you'll be taxed on all of the future gains. So that's going to be a big problem if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 401k plan. In addition, you can't simply just pull your money out of a 401k account if you want to. Your money is basically trapped in there until you are of a certain age. That can be a problem if you need it 20 years down the road. Not to mention that 401k plans have a contribution limit. You can only put a certain amount of your income into a 401k plan every single year. What this all means is that in the future, you're probably not going to have as much money as you think you need in order to retire. So you've invested in your 401k plan diligently over years and years, and you don't even have enough. And that is going to screw many millennials. This issue is only getting worse because with inflation in the United States right now, well, we don't know which direction it's going to take either. Many millennials are assuming that they can pull out a certain amount from their 401k every single year after they retire. However, that's based on what inflation usually is, which is only around 1 to 3%. We don't know if inflation is ever going to come back down to that level in the United States. So this is super dangerous. If it stays at around 5%, well, now you have to save even more, but you can't save even more with the 401k because there's contribution limits. But none of this has to be a reality. There are ways to unscrew your financial future starting today. I think it's awesome that many millennials are starting to invest in their 401k plans, but that is simply not enough. You have to diversify. You have to invest in stocks and bonds and real estate and even maybe commodities. Okay, so you don't need to invest in all of that, but what I'm saying here is you need to diversify your portfolio and protect yourself. If you were to invest in the stock market, whether that's an index fund or an ETF or individual stocks, there are no contribution limits. You can buy as many shares as you want so you can effectively beat inflation in the future. Of course, you already get some exposure to the stock market with your 401k plan, but typically you don't have much control over what you buy in a 401k. That's all handled by somebody else, and that somebody else better know what they're doing. Again, that is all if you're preparing for your future. Stocks, bonds, and real estates are typically the easiest thing to do because the stock market is so accessible. You can go to the App Store on your phone right now and download so many different investing apps and start buying stocks today. And if you're 18 or older in the United States, just about everyone can do it. Literally, it takes minutes to start investing for your future. That's why it's always recommended to a lot of people, and there are no limits. Not to mention, you can pull and sell your investments whenever you want. So 30 years down the road, if you need that money, you can sell your investment. And of course, there are other ways to invest your money, like getting passive income every single month. This builds on your job from a side hustle or maybe an investment property through real estate. The point is that you're bringing in a lot more money, so you have more money to spend. That tips the scale of inflation because even if inflation keeps going up, all of your investments and all of the things that you own also go up in value. That can help your debt, that can help with inflation, and it can help with your future. And of course, you can invest in yourself. You don't actually have to invest by buying something or preparing for your future. Educating yourself means learning everything there is to know about finance. finance. That way you can prepare goals that you can actually meet in the future. You'll know how to budget your money. You'll know how to pay off your debt, and you'll know exactly how to invest for you. That way you'll spend less time trying to figure out how to get those things and more time just putting money in and working hard. This is all in an effort to unscrew the millennial generation in 2022 and beyond. And it's gonna be hard at first. Nobody knows how to do anything. Keep that in mind. You will fail. You're gonna fail a lot, but that is all part of the process of growing. And the more you learn, eventually the more you will earn. And the more you earn, the more you can invest and pay down your debt and start preparing for your financial future. That way we'll have a lot less screwed millennials down the road. But now I want to hear from you on this issue. What do you think about these things that are screwing millennials in 2022 and beyond? Is there something that I missed? Are there other things that millennials can do to basically unscrew themselves in 2022? Or are millennials screwed forever and there's nothing they can do because of inflation and crashes in our economy to recover and have a better tomorrow? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below before you go. But that is it for today's business and financial news breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay up to date with all of the top business and financial news from around the country, our team puts together a free daily newsletter, and you can subscribe to it by clicking the link in this corner right here. And if you want to stay up to date with me and everything else happening in the business and financial world, I'm putting out updates 7 days a week over here on this channel, and I've actually got another one ready for you right here, so be sure to check that out before you go. That is it for me, everybody. Be kind out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.